Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, There Is Always Room For. Today I'm reminding you that there is always room for change. And in this case, I'm talking about change for this. This is a collapsible chair that I purchased because I never owned my own folding chair, and I think it's time. You know, my nephews have been into fishing and playing soccer, and I never have my own chair to sit in. And so when I started shopping for my own chair, I realized that I didn't like any of the ones that exist. And so my thoughts were that I could perhaps change this up. And I have been meaning to do this for about a month now, but I've just been kind of breaking down the chair in my mind and trying to figure out what materials I'm going to need and if this is actually a feasible project or not. So I think I finally have everything that I need to transform this chair. I hope you guys will follow along on this journey of me turning this chair into something that I love.
I picked this chair because I thought it had good bones. I wanted a chair with a canopy, and compared to similar versions, this was the most lightweight one. I picked a heavy-duty white canvas fabric for this chair. I needed white netting for the cup holder. I bought some fun trim as an optional accessory. I got leather needles for my sewing machine since I knew the fabric would be thick. I also got outdoor thread, which was more durable than regular thread. I got Velcro for the optional trim, some gold spray paint, and Scotchgard to make the chair fabric waterproof. I started by disassembling the chair. I took all the screws and put them in labeled zipper bags so I would know which things belonged where. I ended up with 2 sets of metal pieces, the seat and the canopy, and 4 main fabric pieces, the seat, 2 arms, and the canopy. Now it's time to break down the fabric pieces. I started by removing the trim from each piece, and then disassembled the fabric. I took a Sharpie marker and labeled every single piece of fabric, so I would know what each piece was for. I took the smaller pieces of fabric and placed those in Ziploc bags with labels. Disassembling the arms for the chair was a bit more challenging because the cup holder was plastic and the arm anchors were rubber, and they were all sewn in pretty well. I took apart each arm and noticed they were made up of 2 layers of fabric with a piece of foam inside. There were seams that had to be strategically placed so that they would fit onto the base of the chair just right. Next, I started taking apart the seat, which had a lot of different plastic pieces and various places where the fabric would need to fit perfectly onto the metal base. Once I had all of the pieces disassembled, I used them as patterns on my new fabric. I used every old piece of fabric to trace and cut my new pieces. Next, it was time to start sewing the pieces together. First up was the canopy, which was really challenging because I never sewed anything with dimension to it. I've only really sewed flat things before. I used cotton twill tape as the trim to line my edges. I took a break from sewing so that I could get started on spray painting the chair. I ended up using 2 bottles of gold spray paint and then sealed it with a clear spray. I also spray painted the screws. Back to sewing. I pieced together the arms and constructed the cup holder. To prevent the material for the cup holder from getting stuck in the sewing machine, I placed a piece of tissue paper underneath the netting. The tissue paper easily rips away once you're done sewing. I use this trick anytime I'm sewing delicate fabric like chiffon. Next, I began sewing the pieces of the seat together. The seat had plastic pieces that I wasn't sure would hold the spray paint well, so my first idea was to wrap them in gold duct tape. I used the pre-sewn holes in the plastic to poke holes as a sewing guide, since I'd be sewing through plastic by hand. Once I actually started sewing the plastic to the fabric, I realized that pushing through the duct tape was too hard on my poor hands, and the adhesive kept getting stuck on my needle. So I went back to square one and spray painted the plastic pieces and sewed them on, which worked just fine. Next, I wanted to add a fun accent to my chair and decided to add a detachable trim to the canopy with Velcro so that I could remove it when I wanted to wash the fabric. I pinned the trim to the canopy where I wanted it to hang, and then I placed 3-inch pieces of Velcro 3 inches apart around the canopy. I pinned the coordinating pieces of Velcro to the trim and the canopy. And once I removed the trim, I shifted the canopy Velcro pieces down to the edge where I wanted the trim to attach. I sewed around the perimeter of every piece of Velcro to secure it into place, on both the canopy and the trim. I put the pieces of the cup holder together. And then hand sewed the plastic to the fabric arm. This was tough because the plastic was really rigid, and I had to sew at weird angles. I also sewed the rubber anchors to the back of both arms. I wanted to treat my fabric with Scotchgard for 2 reasons. 1, because I chose white fabric and it's more likely to get dirty, and 2, because I wanted to make it waterproof. I used Scotchgard Heavy Duty Water Shield. By the way, I always keep the hangers from the clothes that I buy at Target. They always come in handy. This is the part I was most excited about, assembling the chair. I started by placing the seat onto the metal base. Then I added the arm pieces. Next, I put the canopy frame back on, using the power drill my dad gave me. I put the seat back onto the frame and then got to work on the canopy. I needed to screw pieces of fabric into the frame, so I used a Sharpie marker to mark where the holes would need to be. And then to cut the holes, I thought I would use a belt hole cutter that I bought but never used before. It ended up working perfectly. It was essentially a heavy-duty hole puncher. I screwed the canopy onto the frame. And the chair was complete. The chair was pretty as it was, without any trim. But look at how much that little bit of detail adds to the overall look of the chair. The best part is, you can remove the trim and keep the chair plain. Or you can switch out the trim to something else if you want a different look. I thought this pink and orange trim added a really nice pop of color to the chair. I really love that the canopy on the chair was adjustable and collapsible. The chair itself was really versatile to begin with, which is why I chose it. Here's a look at what I started with. And here's the final product. I am thrilled with the way it came out.
Okay, so once I actually got started on this project and I started deconstructing this chair, I realized that this probably wouldn't make a great step-by-step tutorial for two reasons. One being that the chair that you decide to remake probably won't be the same exact chair that I chose to remake. Therefore, the materials that you're going to need and all the dimensions of the fabric, they're going to be different than the things that I needed for my chair. And two, if I actually sat down and broke down every single step that I went through to make this chair, this tutorial would be about an 8-hour-long video, and I don't think anyone wants to sit there and watch me do anything for 8 hours. I don't think. But I decided that I would still put this video together in hopes that I could teach you a broader, lifelong lesson that you can apply to your everyday life and perhaps any crafting projects you may tackle in the future. And it's something that my dad taught me when I was a little girl, and it is to break it down. So anytime I was faced with a daunting or overwhelming task as a kid, my dad would tell me break it down into smaller, simpler pieces that I could understand. And once I had those smaller pieces figured out, I could put them together piece by piece until I actually ended up with a picture that I envisioned in the beginning. And it's something that has helped me through multiple projects, multiple crafts, deadlines, even studying for tests. It's something that's stuck with me my entire life, so thank you so much for that, Dad. I love you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for tuning in and following along. My name is Kim, and don't forget, there is always room for change. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.